how I got custody. Just sitting here doing nothing for a moment in time, and thought I'd do a live here. I'll probably think of stuff to talk about as I go here, but that's too close. You don't want to see my ugly mug that close. So I just did a video on TikTok. I'm gonna post it on YouTube and Instagram also about how one time I had to shut the hell up and answer a judge's questions, and she cut me short. Is actually a family law commissioner. She cut me off and cut me short and asked me some quickie yes or no questions. The mother was trying to do a contempt motion with a restraining order and something else. This is a year after I got custody. She's trying to modify. And the judge lets the mother's attorney talk and cuts him short, and then turns to me, what about this? What about that? And then she turns back to him because his argument was flawed and my paperwork was probably flawless. I usually had overwhelmingly thorough and accurate paperwork with countless exhibits. So she just asked me a few yes or no questions. I started to make some points, and I think she jumped in. I had like a good 5 minutes to argue. I think I talked for like 40 seconds. She interrupted, asked her yes or no questions, and I stopped and answered her questions. And I sat back and waited. Now, if she's going to use her answers against me and set me up, then I would have said something differently. Or then I would have argued that. A lot of you guys are tempted, if you get asked questions, to want to tell a big, long story and go way back into the archives and the background, all this other stuff, and waste time. I shut the hell up, answered the questions, and then she said, well, you can't get a restraining order. He's not in contempt. He doesn't have the element of bad faith and reasonable excuse. He has a reasonable excuse and stuff like that. Our court order said I was supposed to serve everything through the attorney. The attorney was being evasive. I delivered something to the mother directly, and they thought that was so terribly horrific, which is crazy. I'm going to send paperwork to the attorney, and he's going to turn around and redirect it to the mother. So the whole thing of this middleman third party person doing this stuff is stupid in the first place. But anyway, they lost their contempt. They lost their request for a restraining order. And I can't remember the third thing. It was a 3-tier motion all in one. And the attorney just lost his mind. And that attorney had 39 years experience at that point in time. And I destroyed him, made him look stupid in court. And do I have a question already? No. If you got a question about your court case, go ahead and ask it. But, and then I won. And part of me winning was because I shut the hell up and answered her questions that didn't do anything to piss her off and ramble on about some extra stuff. So, that leads me to another topic about, that's kind of when a judge says, hey, were you here on this night, or were you there on that night, or what really happened, or yes or no this, or yes or no that, and you want to say, well, let me tell you this part first, and then I'll get to your answer. You want to defend yourself so much, or you want to do stuff your way in court so much that you jeopardize what's going on, and that judge holds the fate of you and your life with your kids. And then that judge, you don't want to piss them off, or if you don't answer their questions, they're going to get irritated with you. And then if they get irritated with you, then you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to, get across to them. You're going to struggle to, you're gonna struggle to get your message across, to get them to listen, to get them to actually care. So, you don't want to piss them off. Now, they shouldn't take it personally if you piss them off. They should want to get to the truth. But if you do extras, these judges already hate their lives. They're dealing with baby mama drama, baby daddy drama all day long. I mean, they're miserable people anyway. Why would you want a job being around baby mama drama and family court all day long and stuff like that? So Um, so that being said, you don't want to do stuff your way, the way that you want. You want to learn how stuff has worked for other people. And you don't want to make up your mind, oh, well, the judge is asking me this. They're running the courtroom, but I feel like I should answer it this way. You got to step outside yourself, too. And you got to try stuff that I have people who I'll tell them what worked for me and worked for thousands of other people, and they'll say, but the court system's corrupt, but the judge is corrupt, but everybody goes and lies. Did you try the stuff that I just told you to try? No, but the court is so corrupt. Well, why did you lose all the time doing the wrong stuff, and you never tried anything I'm talking about? I sit there and tell you, here's some stuff you can do. And then you say, well, I can't do that because the court system's corrupt. Okay, then quit. You come across somebody who won over and over in court, you don't want to listen, I got to say, then quit. This isn't about me wanting to sit here and listen to you whine, cry, piss and moan and whine. But I had a guy who texted me, or I think it was one was a woman on behalf of a dude. Anyway, somebody texted me and started telling me I really could use some prep or some help or whatever. And then they gave me about 5 paragraphs worth of stuff. I had to skip that. I said, are you interested in a consult? And they said, yeah, and blah, 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 and the court system this, and court system that, and in my state, it's really anti-father. And then I said, dude, look, I'm not here to sit here. I was in and out of court for 20 years on my case. I've been helping people for 23 years, another 3 years after my case ended. And you're going to sit here and tell me, do you know that the system is corrupt and judges are corrupt and guardian items hate fathers and everybody's mentally ill? Yes, I know that. What the hell you're a rookie in the game. That's like getting in the NFL and then you talk to Tom Brady and say, do you understand the forward pass in the NFL? Do you understand a cover 2 defense? Like what the hell? Like, I wish the average person had some kind of self-awareness, because to talk to me and ramble on all day long in a text message or even a call. I mean, why would you pay me to help you on your case and you want to dominate? I mean, you could do this if you want to, but I really don't want to sit there and get emotionally drained, listen to all your whining, crying, pissing and moaning and how bad the system is. I want to say, here's some answers. Let's go fight. Do you think a trainer, let's say you're a boxer or, you're in Taekwondo or MMA fighting or something. Do you think when you go to your trainer, you want to tell your trainer all the ways that you lost your first 4 matches? Or does the trainer want to sit there and train and teach you how to do stuff that will help you win the next match? If you go and get a tutor in math because you suck at math or algebra, when you sit down with the tutor, are you going to spend time and the tutor says, this is how you do this is how you do that? And you start saying, I flunked my last test. I only got 40% right. I was totally lost and it totally sucked. And my teacher sucked and this sucked and that sucked and this sucked and that sucked. Do you think that you're paying a tutor to sit there and listen to you whine, cry, piss and moan at how you sucked at tests? I mean, come on. What are we doing here? You're calling up someone who specializes in something that you need to know answers on, and you want to just call me up and go blah, 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 blah. And I ask a question and I want to steer you like, okay, what do your court orders say right now? Well, let me tell you how we got our court orders. Let me go back to 14 years ago when we were dating and we went to our favorite soda shop and she would order a root beer float and I would just get a regular vanilla plain ice cream. And then, an hour later, then you answer my question what your court orders say. If I'm the expert and I know what we're doing and you want to run the conversation, that's a red flag for me. That means you are not teachable. That means you do not give a shit about your kid enough to sit down and listen and learn. Or you're a megalomaniac, or you're a narcissist, or you have some mental problems, or you are crazy. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to dominate a conversation in a consultation. But there's some times where I have to interrupt and say, well, wait, where are you going with this? You're going way off in left field. Like some people will call me up and say, well, let me get started, blah, 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 blah. And then 7 or 8 minutes into the call, I'm like, are you interested in a consultation or you just want to tell me your story? Because I don't listen to stories. I help people win. Or I help people learn how to fight to give themselves the best chance to win. And a lot of people win. And right now, I just had a thing about a guy getting going from no visitation to 50-50. Another guy texted me about 50-50, and there's some other testimony. I haven't even put them together. I don't even know if I deleted them. I try and save them so that I can post them so people can see there's actually real winners. But the average person doesn't want to investigate my page or inquire about me. They see my stuff like, wow, this is really good. Let me watch them for 5 or 6 months while I'm getting my ass kicked in court. And then when I totally lose my kids, then I'll call James after I spent $40,000 on an attorney who keeps losing and losing and losing and losing and losing and losing, not doing what I'm saying, keeping me in the dark. Some of you guys need a dose of reality, need a dose of freaking common sense. If you're losing, stop doing what you're doing as you continue to lose. Try something different. Or when you see a winner like me, get some help from that person. You know, people will put in the comments, can you talk about this? You can talk about that. You know, if I talk about an issue, I might not even answer your question. Why wouldn't you want to get a one-on-one consultation so you can say, this is exactly what I'm dealing with? Somebody asked me in the comments about commenting on, it's either DCS in California or Child Services in California. I don't know which one it was. He just gave me the abbreviation. But if he wants me to do a video on Division of Child Support, about what about? There's 5 million things I could talk about with that. If it's Department of Health and Social Services or Child Protective Services or Child Social Services, I could talk a million things about that. When you ask a vague question and you're not even specific in the comments of a question, and you're thinking you're going to get a free answer, you know, people can ask questions right here. I'm available right now. This is the best time. If you ask a question and you're vague, I can say, be more, a little more specific and get some free answers. I've seen times where I've had like 40 people on here and nobody asks a question. And then people complain that I charge for my time and they don't take advantage of a moment like this where you can ask a question and get a free answer. But damn, why are you that stupid where if you have a chance to, and I'm just talking about anybody who asks something vague, usually people are asking stuff vague in the comments because they want a free consult because they're too lazy and they'd rather just have somebody give them a miracle. Like if you're asking, most people are asking questions in the comments. You're totally lost about everything. You ask a question about one topic. Why don't you learn how to fight in general? Why don't you want to get a consult to learn details about your case? Because if you ask me a question about the family court system or trial, there might be some specific things in your case that you need to specifically address. And I won't know what those are because I can't read your mind. I won't know what those are until after I get some information from you. This is where people either don't have self-awareness that you're asking a question that's vague, or you're so absorbed in your own little world you don't realize, look, I'm talking to a total stranger who doesn't know me. I need to explain a little bit, not tell me a whole story that's 50 pages long or 30 paragraphs long. If you actually want an answer, ask a very specific question. If you don't, then you're either too stupid or you're too lazy. Then that means you should quit your case because your child is hopeless with that kind of dumbassedness. And I say it as harshly as I say it because that's the reality of what it is. Here you are, you have a chance to ask a question of somebody, and I might look in the comments, I might not. If you really need an answer on, so I've seen people ask questions, like, and I come across questions that were asked 3 months ago. That person never called me. Why not? You're reaching out to me, asking me something, and you really need it. Why wouldn't you schedule a consult? Oh, because it costs $100 for 90 minutes. Which is $1,000 cheaper than Judge, or $1,100, let's see. He's $750 an hour. That's another $325,000. He's almost $1,000 more an hour. The family court corner lady is $250 an hour, so that'd be 250 plus one, that'd be $375, so that she could teach you how to win in court, even though she spent $100,000 on attorneys. I mean, some of this stuff doesn't make any damn sense. You're lost, you need help, you need to rescue your kids, contact me to get a consult, or else ask a very specific question in the comments that I could easily answer. If you're getting something for free, You should get off your lazy ass. You don't even have to get off your ass. Just type and think, how could I ask this as precisely as possible so he knows exactly what I'm talking about? Not just, what do you think about child support? What do you think about restraining orders? What do you think about the Constitution? If you go and look at a law library, look at how many books are in a law library. You think that I could just talk about a topic and I'll make a lucky Miss Cleo psychic mind reading situation and I'll be able to know what you're even talking about or what your situation is without a consult? And the vast majority of you in the comments have spent $5, $10, $15, $20,000 on attorneys. Some of you up to $100,000 or even more. And you're afraid to get a consult with me. You don't give a shit about your kids. Most of you. Some of you, some people have, are homeless and on the street. I've had a couple cases like that. That seems like that's about the only time where you wouldn't want or need to have to pay for a consultation. Then I have guys who, man, I'm totally desperate. I'm screwed. I need to talk. When can we meet? When can we talk? And how do I pay you? And then boom, in 5 minutes or in a minute, we have a consultation. Other people, I talk to them and they're like, well, I don't want to pay up front. How do I know I trust you? Okay, look at my winning court orders. Well, I had 3 attorneys that screwed me over. Okay, well, first of all, you're a dumbass for doing an attorney after the first retainer was burned and you lost. And you spent more money on that attorney, more money. Then you go get another attorney. Then you get another attorney. And you should have realized that they're all clowns. I did before I even hired an attorney. And I didn't hire an attorney on my original custody case. Later on, I did because I thought I was going to go to trial. And that attorney let me do everything. And the only thing that he did was speak for me in court. And then I realized I didn't even need him because I went to the Court of Appeals and I did that myself without him. And I won. And he's like, why the hell do you even need me, dude? And then I realized I didn't. I can walk into a courtroom of trial without any exhibits and without this and that and just put on a trial myself and object to half of their stuff and get it thrown out. Now with what I know. And people still don't want to contact me. And people think I'm a con artist. And I live pretty much paycheck to paycheck. I got an elderly mother that I take care of. I got a sister with Down syndrome that I look out for. My daughter still needs me sometimes, even though she's moved out on her own. I got some friends that borrow money from me sometimes when I got it. So, I got people depending on me. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And people are saying I'm a con artist. I showed you guys a video of me driving around with my sister with Down syndrome the other day. And, I got people who calling me a piece of shit and a loser and all this and a misogynist who hates women because I talk about women. The haters are, I get so many haters and people are like, don't give me your energy. I'll just do it once in a while when it's super outrageous to let you guys know how stupid a hater looks because I will pick them apart. I had one hater on TikTok that I guess the guy talked to me 15 years ago and he's still on 2 hours of supervised visitation after 3 attorneys. He tried me for 1 hearing, he lost, and then he quit on my services, and he comes back 15 years later and blames me for it, and he's on 2 hours of supervised visits after spending $15,000 on attorneys or something like that, $20,000 on attorneys. And then he said the only reason that I won, I'm a total hack, is because I have a black baby's mom and she must be on crack. And my baby's mom is a human resource manager who made $90,000 a year at one point. That's the type of idiot haters I have. And then people come on and make certain presumptions and stuff. And then here's one thing I won't tolerate on my page. You can ask any question you want. But if you come on my page and you start telling me you're full of shit or that it's hard and guys can't win, you're stupid. You're super retarded. Because I show you my winning court orders. And I show you testimonies of guys who got in full custody since I've been doing this. I had dozens more on Instagram when I started doing this HIGC testimony, hashtag HIGC for how I got custody testimony, hashtag. I only recently been starting to put it on YouTube, but I got my Instagram banned before, I think twice. And so now I'm my 3rd Instagram. And so all those hashtags are gone because those posts are gone. So I'm doing it on YouTube now. I should have thought of that before. That was stupid of me not to do that. But people who come on my page, like I had a little debate with a guy about the latest winner. I did a video. So here's a dad who the mother went into the emergency courtroom to try and get a modification and jam the dad up right before her summer visit ended. The dad already had custody. She's trying to take the kid away, saying the dad's abusing the kid. Most of the time when a non-custodial mother goes into court and says he's abusing the kids, they'll believe the mom and they'll give custody to the mom. Now, she lived on the other side of the country also. So it was easier for her to keep the kid. Like what she should have done if she wanted to be an evil deviant was to file in her state under emergency motion. So the mom gives him 1 court day's notice that she's going to ex parte. He meets up with me, desperately needs help, wants to get going. And he knew I knew what I was talking about as soon as I started talking, and showed him how to see my winning orders and stuff like that. And he did everything that I told him to do. And then he went to court. So then I show that video about that story, and somebody gets in there and says, oh, well, it's pretty much an easy case for him because the mom had moved away and they stopped her from relocating with the child originally, and he got custody. Well, first of all, she had custody the first go around. Then she tried to move. And this is why the guy who posted the comment in there is totally ignorant. Washington law says there's a presumption the relocation will be allowed. In Oregon, it says there's a presumption it will be stopped and the moving parent has to prove a good reason to move. In California, it's assumed the relocation will be allowed unless you prove that the relocation is bad for the kid. Every state should be like Oregon. It should be assumed that moving away from the parent is a problem. But all these pussy attorneys aren't going to go to the Court of Appeals and try and say, look at Oregon, we should adopt that. It's automatically presumed kids need parents. And so allowing this relocation is a presumption against the public policy. Like California, Family Code 3020B says it's the public policy of the courts in the state of California to maintain frequent and continuing contact between the parents. And then 3010 talks about joint custody should be the presumption. So how can it be that a relocation all across the country is assumed to be good for a kid and the dad has to overcome it? It should be presumed that it's bad for the kid, given the other statutes. But these pussy-ass bitch attorneys and these pussy legislators do whatever the feminists tell them to do. And they don't fix these problems and issues. So anyway, in this case where a dad went in an emergency courtroom, he kicked the other attorney, he got the other attorney dismissed off the case, kicked the mother's ass, won the judge over, had a pile of paperwork. Usually when you walk in ex parte, you walk in like, oh, what's going on? I don't even know. You don't even come in with paperwork. The guy had paperwork this thick. Because I showed him some stuff. We slapped together some stuff. He got some declarations. He got a legal memorandum on the public policy of modifications in Washington State, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court cases. And then I showed how the guy, it was a great story. Guys usually don't win in ex parte, but this guy was on the offensive, and he got notified on Friday. He had 1 court day to get ready to go to court. He couldn't file his stuff ahead of time so the judge can read it ahead of time. So he had to show up in court ready to roll, and he only had 1 or 2 minutes to talk if they did the standard thing. They allowed him he kept saying stuff of substance, so they allowed him to talk for 20 minutes, he said. But he was ready to shorten everything in 3 minutes and summarize all of his paperwork. But he made it his obsession over the weekend to crack down on this stuff and get this stuff together. And the guy in the comments said, it was easy for him, or it's easy in general once they stopped the relocation. So it was a wrap for him. No, it wasn't. He had to disprove a bunch of claims about abuse and bring some evidence in there with text messages and photos and assemble that stuff to show a pattern that there couldn't be abuse. And that's what convinced the commissioner to say, okay, there's been this many years. No, there hasn't been abuse. And then he had to argue that the kid is around mandatory reporters because, he goes to school, he's an athlete, and then he's getting treatment for an injury, so he's around doctors all the time. That was probably the solid winning argument. So somebody in the comments who doesn't know what the frick they're talking about because you don't know jack shit about this particular case makes a conclusion. I know all about that case. I was there in the courtroom, and this is why the dad won. This is the problem. Everybody loves to run their mouth, and they don't know what the F they're talking about. And this happens in the fathers' rights movement groups. Guys go to court, they learn a little bit about the court system, and the court system is so complicated. Once they grasp one or two things, they think they're a freaking expert, and they're on the fathers' rights movement pages giving legal. One guy will say, what do I do about this? 20 different guys give him 20 different angles of advice to go with. Stupid, F-tard, moronic, dumbed down idiots who think they know think they're a scholar because they know a couple of things. The guy that I was talking about is in the comments. He's a guy who got full custody. He said, you and me are the same, James. I was just commenting off my experience. Yeah, that's your experience. Stick to your experience and then shut the F up about everything else. I don't understand how people can't figure this shit out. I don't go walking into, the maternity area of a hospital and start telling women how to pump out a kid. I haven't done that before. I've been there with the mother in my case and was there at the hospital for 7 days, and I have my experience, but I don't have enough experience to jump into what they're going through. If I've been through exactly what the person's been through and I've examined what they're talking about and I looked at all the paperwork, I looked at all their circumstances, or if I'm talking to somebody who grew up in a certain situation, they were molested when they're younger and stuff, I can empathize with them to a point, but I can't sit there and tell, well, this is how you deal with your feelings and how you deal with that and how you deal with this because, I got slapped one time when I was a kid. It's not the same damn thing. The fact that some of you people have all this advice and information to lend or criticism or hatred because your case makes you knowledgeable about everything else out there. Shut the F up if you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's the best thing you could do. Or you could say, hey, look, in my experience, this is what usually happens. I told the guy, the guy who made the comment, I said, I've dealt with 25,000 cases. How many have you dealt with? And how do you know anything about the case I'm talking about? And why are you shitting on this guy's effort saying, oh, he had it easy? And then I get losers in the comments who got their ass kicked in court because they went into court being a pussy and not attacking the mother, not going for custody, being a coward and scared of the system. And then they get in the comments and they say there's no chance dads have. And I might have a video where I think it was that same video that I'm talking about. This was on TikTok. I'm talking about the guy winning in court. I'm a winner. My username is how I got custody. And some stupid F-tard, mother effing piece of shit, airhead dumbass comes in the comments and says dads can't win. This is part of the insanity that I have to deal with all the time. It's one thing to feel hopeless in your case. It's another thing to look at somebody else. And it's like, oh my God, what you should be doing if you lost in court and come across my page, you should be saying, damn, how the hell did you win? I can't believe you actually won. Was the mother a drug addict or was this and that? And then I get a chance to say, no, I fought hard and I wore her down, just like your baby's mom wore your bitch ass down and you quit on your kids and surrendered and settled out of court. And I could say that because there's a 95% chance that that person settled out of court because 95% of cases settle. And then they tell me, no, you asshole, I went to trial and I got my ass handed to him. And then I'll say, okay, did you do a deposition for a trial? Did you have a bunch of exhibits? Were you going for full custody? You cross-examine the mother aggressively? Did you put the mother on the stand for your case in chief? And during her case in chief, did you cross-examine her thoroughly there? Did you make arguments about the science and the data? Did you make arguments about Troxel versus Granville? Did you brief the court in a trial brief ahead of time? Boom, I just rattled off about 6 or 7 things right there, which is basic fundamental legal 101, and 99.9% of dads never do any of that. So you went to court as a pathetic loser, not even attempting to try and fight. I understand you might have had an attorney, but why wouldn't you care enough? I have people who never saw my videos, and they have been kicking their attorney's ass to do their job. It's rare, but there's guys who do it. But those are guys with balls. They're not pussy-ass feminine little bitches like the average guy nowadays who sit there and go, okay, whatever you think. It sounds really weird that you think I can only get every other weekend, but why don't we go for 50-50? Oh, you don't have a chance. Okay, but why don't we go for it? Because guys never win. Well, why don't you be the first one? Bitch ass punk. Why did you become an attorney if you don't want to fight for something because people are used to not winning? How do you think women's suffrage movement happened? Or Japanese citizens got oh my God, what is it called? Got payback for when they were interned in concentration camps. Oh my God, I'm losing the word. This is what black people are talking about now with reparations. You know, how do you think the Tuskegee experiment victims got reparations for their families and descendants? How do you think women, you know, when they were marching for the women's suffrage movement and people were throwing tomatoes at them in their parades and marches, about how do you think they got anywhere? Because somebody had some balls along the way to go against the flow. You bitch ass, punk ass, fruity little gay boy coward who's afraid of going against the grain. Are we still in middle school and we're run by peer pressure? Apparently so. Because 90% of dads will when I tell them, get on the offensive, go to war and fight. It's too hard. I don't want to hurt my baby's mom. I don't want to be aggressive and look bad in court. How is everything else? How is it working for you with the bitch ass coward strategy you're using right now? How's that working for you? I know some of the stuff I say is regurgitated from what I've said before, but I come across, I do something new. I show a guy who's won an ex parte. I had a guy about a year and a half ago. He went into Florida in ex parte and got custody away from the mother of their kid who was like a year and a half to 2 years old, a toddler. That's almost unheard of. But that's also because guys never try it. If guys would try, if the court kept seeing men over and over and over going for full custody and arguing the science and the data, then the court would be brainwashed to start thinking, or unbrainwashed from feminism and start thinking that, oh, dad, there is a legitimate thing here. But guys never speak up in court, so all they hear is all the negative stuff about dads, so they keep believing it. And you're scared to be the first one to go in there and fight because your attorney says, oh, guys never win. Well, you're batting 0 for 100 on the times you tried to help a guy win. So maybe you're doing something wrong. Maybe you should change it. But there's no excuse for you to not be on your attorney because I don't know the law. I'm ignorant of this stuff. Do you know that your kids need you? Then why don't you tell your attorney to figure out how to get me my kids? I want 50-50. Oh, you'll never win. I don't give a shit. Go in there and try. I'm giving you a lot of money. There's dads out here climbing poles and risking their lives, and firefighters and police officers and crab guys who, you know, are tossing crab pots off of a boat in icy weather, risking hypothermia so they can support their families and stuff. And you're worried about a little bit of paperwork and having to go into court one time and have, you know, guys on the Deadliest Catch. Those guys are like working 16 to 20 hours on a boat, on a fishing boat, a crab boat, and it's freezing out, and they're doing that every day nonstop. And an attorney, they have to go to court on your case like once a month or a couple times a month, and they're making $400 an hour. You see what a bunch of bitch ass cowards they are? Why don't you light a fire under them? For that kind of money, I'd be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That's intense, hard work. Somebody's making a comment. I have my judge who violated my rights, nervous, and now she needs a staff attorney to assist her. James helped me file a reconsideration motion. Helped. So are you saying your judge had to have a staff attorney assist her to do what? I'm curious about that. I don't know if I can't remember, you know, I've had several other people talk about or do reconsiderations in the past few months. So, but why does that judge need, or how does that judge have is a staff attorney doing legal research for her or something? I'm just curious. You know, I had a guy, you know, if you want some help, you will be more eager to listen than to talk. Mike Tyson is talking. He didn't say this exact same thing, but when Cuss is his trainer who brought him up, made him what he was early on. Is it Cuss D'Amato? Wow, I'm having a brain fart right now. But Cuss, his manager, he died early on in his career, and then people took advantage of Mike Tyson. But he said growing up, he shut the hell up, and he listened to the guy who knew what. I mean, he didn't never talk, but he knew his place. I keep giving you guys the example of if you go to a college class and you don't stand up in the middle of a lecture and say, hey, I don't understand anything about astronomy. Can you tell me about astronomy? By the way, I don't understand how sun rays don't burn through the atmosphere and do this to Earth. And you just start lecturing everybody. Why don't you shut the F up and sit down and let them teach you? It's crazy the number of people who want to talk to me and they want to dominate the conversation and they need to learn. I am not a freaking counselor, a pastor, or your minister, or your girlfriend. I'm not here to let you dump on me every single feeling you have about this. Wake the frick up and realize I'm here to help train you to fight the system. I'm not your cuddling partner. Go to a father's right movement meeting. Or it should be fruity or faggy rights movement meetings. And cuddle with them. Cuddle with those loser bitches. I'm here to help you. I had a guy who called me the other day. 10 minutes into the console, I asked him a few questions. He starts talking. I said, well, how old are the kids? Okay, go ahead. Okay, do you have a court order that gives you this visitation? He was like, no, but later it was that there is a court order. He was confused because when I said, is there a court order? I guess that's the most confusing thing in the world. Because he said, oh, we don't have a new temporary order. We have the old order. What the F do you think I'm thinking? If I ask, is there any court order in your case? The obvious answer is either you have a final order from a while ago or a new temporary order. No wonder you're effed up in your case. You can't answer a question that my sister with Down syndrome could answer. Or you can't listen because you're so anxious to want to ramble on and spout off. You got blue balls. Like you're just waiting. You just can't wait to just give me diarrhea of the mouth about every single thing about your case instead of getting ready to meet up with me and learn. Anyway, so then this guy is saying, I said, are you going for custody? And then he said, no. And then, and then eventually he's telling me his kid got molested by the mom's boyfriend's kid. So the mom has a boyfriend. His kid is molesting their kid. So this guy just wants to get therapy. He doesn't care about anything else. But the mother's still dating the boyfriend. So then he does try and go to get an emergency order to take the kid away to live with him. I said, wait a minute, you told me you weren't going for custody. That's custody. And he goes, it was an injunction for a short period of time. Well, he didn't tell me that it was an injunction for a short period of time. When you are retarded and a dumbass retarded F-tard and you don't communicate in full sentences in English, I'm not going to grasp what you're saying. So this retarded little bitch kept getting mad at me because I was asking him to clarify what the F his retarded ass was talking about. Because he would say, and then so he told me a couple years ago he tried to get an injunction when it first happened. I'm like, so your daughter got molested a couple of years ago and you still haven't been trying to go for full custody until just now? He goes, well, we tried to get the injunction for custody. I said, wait a minute, that is custody. And I'm like, if you're going to go to court and try and get an emergency order for custody, that's harder than just going for a regular full. Why wouldn't you go for full custody? Why wouldn't your attorney say, hey, we should go for full custody now? This dad said, I didn't have enough to go for full custody. And my reaction was like a what the F reaction. Your child is getting molested under the mother's care. She has chosen to be with a man whose kid molested your daughter, and she still dates that man. That shows that she's crazy and endangers your child. Why the F would you not think you can? Why would you think that you can't modify? That told me right there, he's a stupid-ass, non-protective, punk-ass bitch, F-tard of a moron. But I didn't tell him all that. I said, I put it on the attorney. I said, why wouldn't your attorney go for full custody then? And so the guy paused like for several seconds. And I think he felt stupid because he was really offended every time I asked him a question. I have to jump in and say, okay, what about this? And he goes, dude, you're not listening to me. And I said, I am listening to you. I heard what you said about this, but this was confusing. You contradict yourself. I need you to tell me accurate stuff. He goes, well, calm down, dude. I said, I am calm. And he goes, well, you're raising your voice. I said, dude, you just said a passive aggressive, condescending thing that I'm not listening to you and that I need to calm down. And then he says, I can't remember, he said something about this, something about that. I said, look, man, if you don't like me interrupting you and ask you to clarify what the frick your dumbass is talking about, I didn't say all that either. His retarded ass was jumping all around and not answering my questions. And he didn't want to answer my questions. He wanted to tell me the whole story. But if you answer my questions, we can get right to the heart of what you need to do. But guys don't want solutions. They want to be bitch ass feminine women and just ramble on like it's a talk show. So I said, dude, I'll give you your money back if you don't like me interrupting and asking you questions that I need to know to help you. Because if you take me down the wrong road and then I give you advice on this situation, you miscommunicated with me. I've literally had people who've confused the word declaration with deposition. A deposition is an interrogation of a witness with a court reporter in a room. It's like a mini trial without the forum of the court. A declaration is a piece of paper where you write a declaration on. Some dads are so lazy and careless, they can't be this stupid. They're just lazy where they just throw out words and you have no self-awareness and you're talking to a total stranger. I'm a white male. And if I'm talking about my white sister, I don't say a morbidly obese black male midget. I would say my sister who's 5'7", blonde hair, green eyes, average build. I wouldn't say something that doesn't describe her. And people tell me stuff all the time that doesn't describe their situation. That's why it has to be an interactive communication. And the guy didn't like it. And I think he got triggered because I asked him a point blank question like, why wouldn't you go for custody when your child's getting molested? And he's a bitch ass non-protective idiot who wanted to work with a mother who let her child get molested and just wanted to do therapy. Like a dumbass mother effer who's destroying this country, like a million other mother effer bitch ass dads who won't fight for their kids. And the guy's getting mad at me just for asking questions. And I should be cussing him out for letting his daughter continue to get molested like the bitch ass faggot he is. So he started raising his voice and said, I'm the one who's being calm. You're not being calm. I said, dude, you just did a female passive aggressive gaslighting. You need to calm down because I'm trying to get answers and you're getting mad at me for cutting you off, but you're misleading me in the conversation. You need to have a teachable learning. I have an ear to hear what you have to say. So I say that to say the guy who lets his daughter get molested and just wants therapy and doesn't want to take her out of the home and doesn't want to change custody except for a temporary period of time. I said, look, man, this isn't going anywhere. I'll just give you your money back. And then I got off the phone. And then I gave him the courtesy because he paid through a credit card system that would take a few days to refund him. I said, I could do Venmo, Cash App so you can get the money right back. And then I gave him a tidbit of advice, even though he wasted 15 minutes of my time, because then he texted me, give me my money back, you piece of shit. So this mother effing subhuman piece of garbage who didn't want to get custody of his daughter from the baby's mom, I don't know what the F for, because he's a pussy ass coward, or because he thought if he gets an injunction, then he'll work with the mother, then she'll get therapy and everything will be honky-dory. But the mother kept going back to the boyfriend. And this mother effing subhuman piece of shit who let his daughter get molested after she was molested the first time around is calling me a piece of shit. Now, I don't care if some subhuman piece of shit is calling me a piece of shit. But he just shit on me and he screwed the best opportunity to learn how to fight for it. He had not even attempted to fight for his kid. And I have people in his state of Texas, I think he was from Texas. I have people in his state of Texas who've gotten custody of their kids. And he's had at least one attorney. I don't know if he's been through two or three. He had at least one attorney, and he was telling me he's about to fire his attorney, and he shit on me because he's a punk ass bitch. And I simply questioned, why didn't you go for full custody? And went, wow, she was getting molested. Why are you only doing it now 2 years later? And he felt crunchy like a little bitch because he realized that he was being a bitch. Who else besides the dad? The court system isn't protecting her. Your lawyer isn't protecting her. Your lawyer isn't going for custody. The first 10 minutes I talk to him, I say, you should have gone for full custody 2 years ago during the molestation. He might have gotten his kid by now, and he would even need my help. Well, I mean, he would need my help to that strategy because nobody else was thinking of that strategy, and he wasn't even thinking about getting full custody. It's insane. And then the guy's talking shit about me, and then he's saying, I need to take a break because I got a lot of anger problems because I've been doing this for so long. You stupid ass mother effing idiot. I think he said I had anger problems. So you're saying I got anger problems because I raised my voice because you cut me off and I'm talking to a guy who's allowing a child molester to molest kids? I should be angry about that shit. The fact I held back from calling him a punk ass bitch and hanging up when he didn't want to go for full custody because there's a child at stake. I'm willing to work with people who are showing me at the beginning of the call that they're complete dumbass pussies like that guy. And I still wanted to work with him for the sake of his kid and his right to have his kid. There could have been something along the way that the attorney did that screwed up, so I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm the bad guy because I'm passionate and I get loud and mad at pussy ass bitch dads when you're the only hope for your kid. You think about it for a second. Let's just pause for a second. Your kid is living with a narcissistic, toxic mother who talks bad about you and traumatizes the kids. Your kids live with the mother. They statistically are better off with the father, so they're automatically in danger. If you don't have 50-50, I mean, first and foremost, kids need a home with mother and father in the home and the family structure. That's the way God made it. That's the way it is in nature. That's the way every statistic shows is beneficial for the kids and ideal. When the family is broken, the statistics are better with custodial dads. And actually, they're the same as intact families, statistic-wise. There's always tragedies. There's always kids who are suicidal or kids that turn out crazy. But the vast majority of them that are totally dysfunctional are in single mother homes. So you automatically have your kids in danger. Does the court system care about that right now? No. Does your attorney care about that? No. Does the other attorney care about that? No. Does the guardian ad litem care about that? No. Who's the only person that cares about that? You. So there's one person who cares about it. So the only chance your kid has to be in a good situation is if your bitch ass, you have your testicles drop and you inject some testosterone and you get rid of the man titties and estrogen and you start acting like a man and rescue your kids since you're the only one. I mean, we all know this principle of the man being the protector, the man giving affirmation, the men doing stuff that women don't do. You know, moms just say, wait till your daddy gets home and the house will be in order. Mom's nurturing can only go so far when your kid misses 2 free throws at the end of a game and you're down by 1 and he's humiliated because he let his team down and everybody laughed at him and all that stuff. Mom will sit there and cuddle with the kid and, you know, hold them and say, you poor baby. You might hold them and console them and say, it's all right, kid, you're going to do better. And next day you're out there with 500 free throws in his ear screaming like your fans and trying to distract him, and you're toughening him up to get ready for next time, and you guys are shooting 500 free throws a day for the next 3 weeks. Men will turn around and not just console somebody, but empower them. Mom will say, oh, you poor little thing, you skid your knee. Dad will say, stop tripping. Stop falling down. And see, the feminists have controlled society where a dad like that will be looked at as some kind of child abuser or mean or whatever. But you're toughening up your kid and getting your kid ready for life. There's a spiritual war on the family and on fatherhood. So all the bitch ass feminine men who give into radical feminism and the psychotic feminine bitches out there who want to emasculate men and get rid of toxic masculinity are getting rid of manliness and protectiveness. Because there's a little, isn't that crazy? You know, there's scripture that talks about a spiritual war, and there's a war against everything that's in God's order and the way that it's made. Isn't that crazy that they don't want fathers to be in kids' lives, yet the whole world complains about fathers not being involved? Whether you believe in God or not, that's a funny coincidence, isn't it? Here's God's biblical design for the family. Here's all the science that supports it. And here goes all of society crying out outside of the courts, like, where are you, dads? And crapping and shitting on dads. And then when it's time to restore the family and do what's best for a kid, they give the dad every other weekend. And people don't believe in spiritual warfare or spiritual things. That's insane to me. But I just had another dad. He has 50-50 right now because he talked to the mother and he coerced her to work outside of court. So either she got tired of fighting. I don't know his exact story, but he was the one that needed to rescue the kids. And all of a sudden she did a 180 turnaround, probably because she saw him acting like a man. If half of you bitch ass, punk ass mother effers would just grow some balls, your case would be over. Right after you grow some balls, bitches. This is why I talk the way that I talk. And the faggot that called me the other day who lets his daughter get molested, he's like, oh, you got anger problems. Because I raised my voice a little bit. Are you that much of a bitch ass? If I raise my voice after you cut me off and you tell me you don't like me interjecting and asking questions so we can efficiently handle this thing, like you're that much of a pussy that you don't like somebody asking you a question or me asking you, why didn't you go for full custody when your child was getting molested? This is the bitch ass fruity gay boy faggots I deal with all day long, every day for 23 years. I should be having severe anger problems. But the only time I get angry is if somebody doesn't listen or they lie. And I had a guy in the comments, like I said, he lied. He came in the comments and said, oh, that dad had it easy up there in the Washington area, in a Washington court. He doesn't know what the F he's talking about. He doesn't know shit about the case. He just says, oh, that's a relocation case? Oh, well, this is what happens in all relocation cases in the millions of cases across the country. Stupid mother effing retard low IQ bitch with no self-awareness. That's what pisses me off. Stay in your effing lane, dumbass. I'm the one who knows what's going on in the cases that I'm working on. You know what's going on in your case. I would never pretend to know what's going on in your case. That's why I ask people to give me information instead of asking questions like, oh, what do you think about the U.S. Supreme Court? What the F are you even talking about? Can you narrow it down? Are you that retarded? Did you not ever have to do a book report after third grade? I know I'm talking harshly to people, but some of you lazy, bitch ass, cowardly, slothful mother effers need to put some freaking effort into this like you care about your kids. All the passersby who do that stupid shit, you will get a negative comment back from me. Because your lazy ass won't. Now, sometimes I answer the comments with a specific answer that you will never get anywhere else. And then people see that, so they think they can ask me 5 million questions and I should just spend 5 hours. I had one guy on TikTok. I looked on his page. I look and see if somebody's a subscriber, just a passerby, because he came in making some stupid ass comment. And if you're not a subscriber, if you're a subscriber, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and try and answer. Unless, remember I told you there's one guy, he said the only reason I got custody is because my black baby's mom is a crackhead. She's a human resource manager. That guy I attacked right away because that was some bitch ass, cowardly, whatever. And he's on his page talking about how depressed he is and he's suicidal, or he's suicidal at one point. And then he's going to talk shit to me because he used me. There's plenty of people who used me once and lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then they end up getting full custody or end up winning because it's a war. It's not a sprint. This is a marathon. Bitch ass coward. When that guy was representing himself, he lost one hearing. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 court hearings before I got any visitation with my daughter. So I'm already 4 times the man he is. Actually, he doesn't even get a 4-to-1 ratio because the first one, he probably half-assed that hearing, and that's why he had trouble that he had. But this other guy, on his page, every single picture of him is laying in his bed, and he's morbidly obese. Now I got a stomach on me, but I'm not laying in my bed all day taking selfies of myself in bed. And he says, hey, how do I fight this and that? Or he said something about it's impossible to fight. I said, learn how to fight the right way. He goes, how do I do that? I said, get a consultation or watch all my videos. And he goes, give me a breakdown of what I need. He said, give me a breakdown of all I need to know You mother effing lazy ass bitch. I'm not going to write a book in the comments on TikTok, you F-tard. And he wasn't a subscriber when he was asking all that stuff. You guys are your own worst enemy. And if some of you would learn to listen, learn to shut up, and be able to absorb stuff, and if you want to pay me to ramble on, some of you actually, for initial consult with me is an hour and a half. That's what everybody needs, bare minimum. Everybody really needs a good 2 hours or more, but an hour is all people can usually take, and most people go over an hour for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes if they only got an hour. And when I used to have an hour initial consults, people would go over and steal time from me. So I can't keep doing that and have, like, if I have 3 appointments in a day, that's 45 minutes of my time totally wasted. You know, if they all go over 15 minutes, some people want to go over 30 minutes. So anyway, I've calculated and got it down. Everybody needs a good hour and a half. And even then, I tell people, hey, we're getting at the hour and a half, and then hour 30, like, oh, one more quick question. Oh, one more quick question. Oh, one more quick question. Next thing you know, it's hour 35 and hour 40. And you guys think I'm the, and I get comments, I'm the piece of shit. I'm the asshole. You know, I could actually up the price, and so I'd only get the real guys who really care, and I would make more money and have less stress, but I'm trying to make it affordable for people. And it's only because it's the internet. Nobody would want to show their face with the bitch ass comments that I get. Whining, crying, pissing and moaning, calling me an asshole. A guy calls me up and he's letting his child get molested for 2 years before he tries to modify and go for full custody. And the dumbass mother effer said, I didn't think I had a case to modify. What the F does it take to modify? Any change of circumstance. You don't think molestation is a change of circumstance from when she wasn't molested? You dumb mother effer? And the guy's going to call me a piece of shit. And again, that doesn't offend me. It's just the fact that some loser piece of shit guy is calling me a piece of shit, and I've had my daughter for 23 years. She just moved out this year. She was living with me for 22 and a half years of her life. Pretty much, oh, right at 23. I'm sorry, it is 22 and a half. The fact that anybody would have any criticism of me is asinine. Now, I'm not beyond making a mistake or getting something wrong. You know, I've had consultations where I've told people I'm sorry because they were offended because I said something or whatever. And I didn't even mean it that way, but just for the sake of not offending them, I told them I didn't mean it to come across that way or mean to offend you. And even those times that I did that, I thought I didn't do anything wrong, but I just wanted to smooth it out. So I have apologized for the sake of peace. But when I know you are intentionally getting pissed and you want to dominate the conversation, you don't want to hear anything I got to say, you really don't want help other than just ramble on and spit stuff out, and you're going to get triggered when I ask you questions, you're not coming with a teachable spirit. You're not coming with somebody who wants to listen and learn and wants to fight for their kid. So I can't help you. So if there's any sign of that, I'll offer you to get off the phone and give your money back, like I offered the guy the other day. And all he kept saying is, you're raising your voice. You got an anger problem. You're getting angry. You know, you need to cool off and cool down. So he kept at it. And I'm like, dude, shut the F up. You could just start engaging in a conversation between the two of us instead of you dominating and getting butthurt if I ask you a question. And then we can move forward. This is the problem. This is the biggest problem in the family court system. Bitch-ass cowardly dads, or dads who don't want to learn, or dads, once they learn something, they don't do it. I just did a video the other day, ER 602. Almost all of you will let the mother, or if you're a mother who's dealing with, and the dad's in the wrong, you know, 90% of my audience is getting screwed are men. But if the mother is going to court and violating evidence rule 602, and you saw my video on evidence rule 602, did you start telling your attorney to object to that stuff? Did you tell your attorney to go back and look where they violated ER 602 at a hearing you got screwed and undo the hearing? Did you, if you're representing yourself, are you doing those things? Do you have your mind made up that next time I'm going to start objecting to ER 602 violations? I'll bet you almost none of you, except for a few people, did that. Sometimes I ask myself, why the hell do I even do these free videos when 99% of the people aren't even doing this shit? And the people who are the 1% who want to get help, they would get help anyway, so it's almost pointless. giving out all this information that nobody else is sharing. Now, Command the Courtroom, that lady's good on YouTube. I've seen her I've only seen her a few times, so I haven't seen her enough to judge her or know. She's said some on-point stuff, and she seems like she says credible stuff, and she doesn't shit on anybody else or anything like that. But outside of her and another guy named Dad X something on YouTube out of New York area, I don't know anybody doing anything like this. But those two people, they're not doing the aggressive, on the offensive, go after everything mentality that I'm talking about. This is not a boxing match where there's no punching below the belt. This is a street fight, and I know how to street fight this. Then you got faggots like Judge Anthony get up there shaking his rump like a solid gold dancer or a video vixen hoe. Or like, you know that White Snake song from the 90s, Here I Go Again, that lady was on the hood of the car. Or the late 90s, early 2000s, when in hip-hop videos where there's all kinds of women in there dancing around. They have to sleep with the rapper to get in the video. That's what Judge Anthony's doing. He gets a testimony, he does a little dance to try and act like he's down and cool. He's wearing his little hats with the flat brim or rim on the cap, acting like he's down and cool. I mean, if that's him, I mean, I doubt it. He used to be a judge and a family law attorney. I doubt that that's really him. But $750 an hour, and he talks about he understands divorce victims and narcissistic victims. He cheated on his wife with a super rich woman, and it was a controversy in the town, and that's why he stepped down as a judge. So he's kind of lying about that. And if he was a judge and he thinks the system is corrupt, why isn't he doing jack shit about the system? If anybody could do judicial seminars and get paid judicial seminars, he should do judicial seminars to talk about narcissism and how the vast majority of his mothers are narcissists, and you shouldn't be making bad rulings to the detriment of the kids. Why isn't he doing stuff like that? Because he can make money, $750 an hour, after gullible bitches out there. You could find all of this stuff on your own for free if you really wanted to. I did. Everything that I'm offering to you, I found for free, except I had a few mentors who charged me for consults, and they gave me this much information compared to all this information I'm giving you guys for free. You have 100 times more information than what I had when I started, when I was a warehouse worker who flunked out of college. No court experience. I didn't have a bachelor's degree. I was a college flunky. After I'd been in court for 6 years, I went back to school and got a bachelor's. It took me, I went and got an AA, kind of goofed around for a while, then got my bachelor's. I thought I graduated. I missed a couple classes. So I had like a 3 or 4 year plan after I got my AA. So 2007, 2012, 5 years, about a year and a half to get my AA. Anyway, and I'm in there killing these people. Why? Because I had the number one requirement that it takes. Any knowledge you have of the court system, any experience you have in going to court, any ability to write and type and use Adobe Acrobat and ability to e-file in the court system, that doesn't mean jack shit if you don't have balls and gumption to fight and move forward and get on the offensive. I knew nothing about the court system, but I was willing to fight for my kid and go toe-to-toe and go 15 rounds or fight or be in there for the long haul and the marathon. And because of that, I was able to fight and learn to fight and get on the offensive. Because of that, I was able to do that. That's what enabled me to learn the stuff, because I didn't back down. I didn't tolerate no for an answer. When a family law attorney at Goldberg and Jones, divorce lawyers for men, told me you'll get every other weekend, I said, I work at night. I could be my daughter's daycare throughout the week. The mother lives 3 blocks away. The Goldberg and Jones attorney said, you'll probably still get every other weekend. I have a video on it on my YouTube channel. I said F you and hung up on them. I didn't say F you, but I pretty much, that was my attitude. How dare you tell me I'll get every other weekend when I'm available during the day, and you're saying the daycare has more rights than me? See, 99% of you punk ass bitch mother effers wouldn't even thought like that. You would have said, oh, this is what the attorney says, even though it doesn't make any damn sense to me. You can't stand up for yourself. I stood up for myself and said, F you. I'm not settling for that bullshit because I had balls and I was a beta male most of my life. But when you're going to take away my kid, I'm turning in from pussy ass bitch Simba that ran off into the oasis from his calling. And I'm having that confrontation with my dad in the clouds, and I'm going to remember who I am, and I'm going to go back and fight Scar for my kingdom back. You know, The Lion King, that's just an example of countless other Hollywood movies where deep down we know in our conscience how the family structure should be or what's the right thing to do. Okay. In that case, it may sound corny because it's a cartoon. I bring it up a lot. But Simba was the rightful king of the jungle. When he left, it was utter chaos. When you left your family, it's utter chaos because you are the rightful king of your family. You are the protector. You are the only one who can give male affirmation. You are the one who sets boundaries and borders, unlike most mothers. There are some mothers out there who are protective and they set up these boundaries and they have discipline and stuff, but the vast majority of mothers don't. So you're whining and crying and pissing, moaning that your kids are suffering, but your bitch ass won't go for full custody. The F is wrong with you? So TJ, who was talking about his judge, I guess I helped him do a reconsideration. He said his judge is a little nervous about him, so I asked him why. He said, observe the hearing because the judge in September 20 told me she didn't want to hear about my domestic violence allegations. So the judge didn't want to hear about his allegations against the mother without allowing me to reduce my time sharing to once a week per month. I'm assuming once a week. He said per month. And gave abusive mother ultimate decision-making over daycare and medical. The reconsideration motion in September 23 is now being heard. Wow, you're not getting it heard until like a year later? That's crazy. See, when you guys, here's a little tidbit of information. When you guys are, if you're sitting there waiting for more than, in Washington State, a judge has to rule on any matter within 60 days. That's the last I heard. I don't know what the latest rule of that is. If the latest rule is has changed, I don't know what it is. But if they go past the 60 days that you're supposed to have, then, or whatever it is in your state, if you're waiting for weeks and weeks or months for a ruling, I would file a request for decision. I learned about this from my baby's mom's opposing attorney. I would draft a document, in your document, you got the caption that says me versus, like in my case, it says, in regarding the parentage of my daughter, James Christensen versus Sedaris Wright. And on the other side, there's a case number. And then under the case number is the name of the document. So the name of the document says declaration of father, or motion to recuse judge, or motion for reconsideration. So in the caption, I would title it request for decision. And in parentheses, motion filed September 2023 or whatever. A lot of times judges will look at the title of your document and may not even read it. I want to say, I did a video on this before. I would say, and see, you guys, if you're not watching every single video of mine, you need to get a consultation. Because I can go over stuff that I've done in videos or that I haven't done in videos and deal with stuff that's specific to your case. But if you would know this if you watch all my videos, but And again, people say, once you do this topic, do that topic. So you want me to do every single topic that can possibly cover everybody's situation in America? That's freaking impossible. If you need help, get some help. I shouldn't have to tell mother effing retards this. You should want help for your case. You shouldn't want to pin your hopes on that I will read your comment and do a free video and read your mind about what's going on in your case to be able to help you. But I digress. So I would do notice of decision, or let's say, like if I do a reconsideration, I'll say motion for reconsideration, a judge's unconstitutional order, judge's bias, and judge's violation of CR 59 or fair hearing or egregious violation of this. I would be accusatory in the title. So instead of them saying, oh, here's a reconsideration, screw that, I'm going to sign it and say deny. If I say something provocative in the title, they'll say, what the hell is he talking about? Let me see this. And then they'll be provoked or moved to this stuff. This is some common sense stuff that you got to think, my judge isn't listening to me. So what do I got to do? I got to do something to make him listen to me. Instead of bitching and moaning and curling up in a ball and thinking of a happy place and sucking my thumb like a little bitch, I think of a new idea to get the judge's attention. And if you don't know what to think of and you want to talk to somebody who has 20 years of winning over and over and over and over and over again in court against veteran attorneys without an attorney myself, you should want to get my help. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not going to come up with some fake line and say, hey, boys and girls, you know, this is James. I won in court and you could do it too. Why don't you do a consult with me and stuff? If you don't wake the F up before you call me and you're not ready to fight, I don't want to help your bitch ass. I'm dealing with the reality. I'm not going to go to Judge Anthony, that fake ass little faggot who shakes his ass like a little gay boy to try and act like he's down. Go talk to Steve Maeda, who says you have to have an attorney. That guy got his ass kicked in court. And I did a video on him, James versus, it's in my thread, it's in my category of videos, James versus blank, some stupid jackass. Steve Maeda in a video says you have to get an attorney. This court system's complicated. He had an attorney, got his ass kicked. So why would he give people advice to do what he did? This is what's so sick about this thing. That's like somebody who has diabetes and is 350 pounds who eats cookies, cakes, and Twinkies all day to say, hey, you don't want to be fat and greasy like me, but eat a bunch of Twinkies and sit around all day and tell them to do exactly what you did. It's insane. And F-tards believe all this bullshit because an attorney tells you to keep doing what everybody else has done to lose in court. Instead of doing something different, like talk to James, who shows you my winning court orders. I had a dad who I gave him some Supreme Court case law in Washington to take to his attorney. And he said, I want you to fight for this Kovacs case in Washington on my case. It's the same type of scenario. And he goes, who gave you this? And then he said, well, this guy named James is a father's rights guy. Oh, he's full of shit. So the Supreme Court said this, and he's going to disregard what the Supreme Court said because I handed him the publication of the Supreme Court decision. Friggin' bum-ass bitch-made gay boy. And then I said, do you know how many dads that your attorney has helped get custody? He said 0. He told me one time he's never helped a dad get custody. And I've helped over 3 dads get custody at last count. And so I'm the asshole. Now, I don't get offended at people saying stupid stuff like that. What's amazing is the fact that you have the audacity to complain about something and you're a bitch-ass loser and you're complaining about winners. So again, I would do a caption. If you haven't seen a decision in several weeks, I would file a document that says notice of decision. I filed a motion this date. For the sake of judicial economy, I asked the court to make a decision on it. The court, and then I would say under the Code of Judicial Conduct, the judges are supposed to dispose of cases expeditiously. So then you wake them up. It could be could be sitting at the bottom of the pile of paperwork on the judge's desk, and it could be just a matter of alerting them. So I would try that. Mother also lied, so I'm still on TJ here. Somebody asked me, what's my email? It's in my flow page. Under every single video is a link to my flow page that has my phone number, my mailing address, my email, how to contact me, and all the info. My store link is there, a video about what's the 3 most important things in my store. If you're a dad going to court and you're representing yourself and watching my videos, and you know I know what I'm talking about, you should be getting those 3 items in the store if you're accused of abusing your kids. If you're not accused of that, then you should be getting 2 items. But I don't push that because I want people to figure it out on their own. But there's some people who call me up and say, I got totally schooled in court. They violate all the evidence rules. I'm like, did you get my evidence rule video, or did you study the evidence rules like I tell people to do in court in my videos? No, I didn't. I've had guys who've watched my evidence rule videos and objected to stuff and shut people down. I've had some other guys who use objections, and the judge says, "Oh, I don't care about that. Not in this court." So then you preserve your objections for the appeal, or you need to talk to a judge saying, "How can you possibly ignore the rules of evidence?" That's basic legal 101 that you learned in the first year of law school. How can you allow this cheating in here? You have to stand up to a judge. So if you're still watching, my email is howiGotCustody@gmail.com. So if you're looking to set up a consult, when people reach out to me, you're reaching out. There's no reason to reach out to me to do or ask anything except to get a consult or to clarify what my rates are. But that's all on my flow page. People like to send me 50 pages of stuff that I need to read before they even ask if they want a consult. I'm not doing that shit. If you want help, get a consult. Email, text, or call me and say, I need a consult. When can we talk? And then if you want to say, how do I know I can trust you? You can't trust anybody in this world, dumbass. What kind of mother effing question is that? You just spent $100,000 on an attorney. You had no proof that they were any good or a person who could be trusted. And I show you my winning court orders. And if you don't think you could trust me a little more than your attorney, then you're a stupid retard, and that's why you're in the situation you are. Now, if you want to wake up to reality and stop being a stupid dumbass and a cowardly bitch or lazy or whatever your problem is, let's turn around and let's get going. If what I'm saying offends you, it's because you're one of these things. If you're not that type of guy and you want to fight and you just haven't known what to do and you're stumbling across me, then let's go. If you're a guy who's been a pussy-ass bitch this whole time, let's go. And don't call me saying, James, I've been a bitch. I got screwed up. I don't even want to hear it. I just want to get going. I want to just do stuff. I'm a doer. I'm not a talker. I don't want this bitch-ass, whiny, faggoty talking and yakking away. Oh, what's wrong with the system? I want to help you win. Don't you want to get your kids? I had a guy who was talking to me. I had to tell him to narrow it back down again. He was talking about all this, the constitutional right to this and that, and the court doesn't have any standing and all this other stuff. He's got zero contact with his kids. What the F did that argument do for you? If you want to fight the system and go in there, like I did a video on this before, those guys who talk about treaties with the Moors or I'm a sovereign nation and other treaties need to be honored and you don't have a right to do this and that. All that stuff is true. But you know what? There's guys sitting in jail in orange jumpsuits and they get out of jail to have a court hearing. They say, I'm a sovereign nation. And the court goes, yeah, whatever, mother effer, go back to jail. What the hell did that do for them? Do you want to get out of jail or do you want to play this stupid ass game and get your rocks off, jerking off to you talking about, hey, I said this in court. So all my jailhouse, advisors, I'm pleasing them and making them happy and it gets me off and I get aroused doing it. While you're sitting in jail, you dumb mother effer. You're not seeing your kids right now. Stop doing that stupid ass bullshit unless you're ready to take. And the guy that I was talking about, he said, well, I'm going to do this and that and argue this. I said, okay, are you ready to be in court for 7 years and take on the United States Supreme Court? Or do you want to get your kids now? What the F, man? Make the important stuff the important stuff. I got all kinds of guys who they know all this U.S. constitutional law and all these rights and stuff like that, and you don't even know the statutory factors in your own state. Didn't even try to argue that stuff. Didn't try and do and say anything about it. You want to take on the entire U.S. government. This system has been in place, the anti-father system has been in place for 60 years. And your dumbass thinks that your retarded, lazy, punk bitch ass is going to go to U.S. Supreme Court and get your case overturned. Do you even know what the hell you're talking about or why? You heard a great story. Hey, you have this right. Okay. Do you think that worked out for slaves, that they had rights? Do you think that worked out for emancipated black folks in Jim Crow South? If they went in the court and said, hey, I have rights. Do you think that worked out well for them? No, they had to deal with the reality of the situation. Why don't you deal with the reality of the situation and get your kids? Then go on your campaign to fight the government. But you know what happens? Guys who talk to me and say, hey, I want to fight the system. I want to protest like you do when I'm done. You know how many people follow up with me and still do that in the end? 0 bitches show up. I've never had anybody ever come with me on a protest more than once. I had like 4 guys do it. And then after we did it once, they never wanted to do it again. One guy came on the protest and then he wanted to stop me when it's time for me to go home and get my daughter from school. And he said, hey, what about this? What about that? He wanted to get a free consultation out of it. My dinner's such a bunch of mother effing punk ass bitches. So I'm up here looking for the 1%. If you're part of the 1%, let's go. If you're not, then just stay watching and hopefully you think by transcendental meditation or some kind of miracle that all my knowledge is going to seep over into the phone, into your head, and you're going to be some legal extraordinaire without having to study or put in work or grow some balls. So, TJ, on your thing, the mother... Okay, but it hasn't been heard yet. So, I'm not sure what you meant by a staff attorney that the judge needed or whatever, but yeah, so... Okay. I don't know what else to talk about. I mean, I could talk about anything. But I've pretty much talked about everything. I mean, I could do different videos and talk about different stuff in different ways, or somebody's particular situation, or an example of something that happened in a court case, and it's to make it more relatable. But I'm really saying a lot of the same old stuff. And even when I talk about different things, like I just gave you a bit of information. If you haven't heard, if you have a motion that's just sitting around doing nothing right now, if you have a motion that's sitting around doing nothing right now, and the judge is showing no sign of getting to your motion, then you may want to do a request for a decision. But I've said that before, so that's nothing new. So I know for newer people, they may need something like that. But you know, since the guy who went into ex parte went in there and won, the thing about ex parte you guys should know is that the rules on injunctions govern that. Nobody can go to ex parte without giving you notice, unless irreparable harm will happen by giving notice, or until you can be heard. For example, in most states, that's Civil Rule 65. It says, no ex parte emergency motion or injunction shall be heard unless notice is given to the other party. You have a right to notice on every court thing. I had somebody ask me, can the judge, the guardian ad litem, and the other parent have a conference? No, that's one-sided. That's ex parte communications. They have to give you notice about going to ex parte. The only exception is if there's going to be irreparable harm by giving the notice, or there will be irreparable harm before the other person can be notified or heard. For example, a woman will go in there and say, Your Honor, my husband threatened to kill me, or he's coming home from a business trip and he said when he gets home he's going to kill me. I need a restraining order to protect me. That's one excuse. Another excuse to not tell the other side you're going to an emergency courtroom is, Your Honor, if I tell the mother that I'm going to court tomorrow in ex parte, if I tell the mother I'm going to ex parte to get an order restraining her from taking the child out of state, she'll take flight and go to Florida or Cuba or New York or her timeshare in Mexico, and we'll never see the kid again. So if you give notice that you're going to ex parte to get an emergency order, and that notice will tip them off, and they're going to do something like stab you and kill you before you go to court or take off with the kid, then you don't have to give notice. But you have to prove that through affidavits. But most people don't. They just go to court, and the courts are so used to getting ex parte motions when they're attorneys, and when they come to judges, they just keep doing it. You need to stand up for that. And most states, like California's rules on injunctions, it's not Civil Rule 65, it's a different number. I forget what number. I think it's 125 or 1225. You have a right to dissolve, like let's say they go to emergency courtroom and they get an emergency restraining order, and you don't have a full hearing to defend yourself for a month or two. You can go to court and motion to quash or dissolve that as long as you give the other side 2 days notice. It's crazy. You got to give the other side 2 days notice, but they don't need to give you notice. I'd be doing a motion to quash. If you had an emergency restraining order against you and you ever had an attorney and they didn't tell you about a motion to quash, your dumbass is dealing with an incompetent attorney. Or your attorney's the dumbass. You should ask them why they didn't follow that and try and advise you to do a motion to dissolve. You know, when a woman goes to court and says, he's going to hurt me, I need an emergency order, he's going to hurt me, that's stupid, because if he's so mad at you that he'll kill you for going to get an ex parte order, when you get the ex parte order, he's really going to want to kill you, if that's really true. That should be an argument that everybody makes, but nobody makes it. Because when I tell guys to make it, they're such pussy bitches, they don't want to tell their attorney to do it, because you're a slave little bitch doing whatever your attorney tells you to do. And when I tell you, why are you letting your attorney get away with murder when you're the boss? Why don't you boss him around? Well, I'm afraid my attorney will drop me and I'll represent myself. No shit. That's even better. Why don't you want to do that? Why are you so scared of a bitch to not want to learn how to fight yourself? Oh, because you're a lazy-ass, bitch-ass coward. And you're afraid of going to court and winning like me without an attorney or thousands of other guys. See, you're effed up in the head. You're stupid. You're retarded. You're a moron, or you're a pussy-ass bitch coward. Get that mindset out of you and say, it's scary. It's intimidating. The court system is overwhelming. But I love my kids more than my own pussy-ass inner bitch, and I'm willing to fight for my kids. So I'm going to take the stuff James says, and I'm going to go look it up myself and verify it myself and learn myself, and I'm going to fight for my kids. It's 100% on you. It's on you. If you're losing in court, it's mostly your fault, because you could have got on the offensive from the beginning and been one of these guys. 95% of court cases settle out of court, and whoever has the most leverage wins. So except for the 5% of guys that are getting railroaded anyway because the judge is man-hating radical feminist and lesbian who got molested by her dad, and they're just in the tank for you. And see, a lot of you guys will say, well, that's how the whole system is. Yeah, but the way to win is to get on the offensive and go through the war of attrition and wear the other side down so they settle, so you don't even have to go in front of the judge, you dumbass moron. Freaking retarded idiots. I won in court and thousands of guys have won. Your bitch ass has lost over and over, and you telling me there's no hope. You fruity little gay faggot bitch who doesn't care about your kids. I'm sick of hearing that stuff. And then so there's guys out there, oh, you got anger problems. Yeah, I'm angry about bitch-ass dads who don't want to rescue their kids when you're the only person who can do it. Like a dad who let the kid get molested, or a dad who's on a father's rights movement group telling other dads, you got to give your kids back to the mom. If the boyfriend's molesting the child, you got to give the kids back to the mom. That was an Idaho father's rights movement group, because they said, if you don't give the kids back, you can go to jail. And I said, and I got on there, I said, where the hell is the law on that, dumbass? And he went to go look it up. It took him like 20 minutes to even find it. Then he popped back in the page and he showed us the link to the law. And the law said you can get in trouble, but the last line in the law, this faggoty bitch didn't even read the whole law. All he read was the headline. And he's out here giving people advice in the Father's Rights Movement group in Idaho. The last line said, unless you're withholding the child to protect the safety and welfare of the kid. That's why that dad could have withheld the child from the mother, because she's being molested. This faggot-ass bitch said you could get in trouble and go to jail. So give your kids up to the boyfriend to get molested. I wouldn't care if there was a law saying I can't do that. I'm not letting my kid go over there without a fight. Friggin' faggot ass bitches. That and fruity gay boy feminine bitch dads out here who are letting the kids get molested call me an asshole or say I'm a piece of shit and say I don't know what I'm doing. I got anger problems. You better believe I got anger. I got righteous indignation toward the court system and then dads who are pussy ass bitches who don't fight, because I fought when I did not have James's YouTube channel. You guys got a wealth of free information right now. 100% of you could sit down, have a talk with yourself and say, stop being a bitch ass coward. Watch all of James's videos, study that stuff and learn it, and go fight for your kid and look the laws up yourself, look case law up yourself. And if you don't know how to do it or it's too hard, then get my help, mother effer, you stupid ass moronic idiot. It's like you guys want every single way out there to fight this except to go through the tunnel that leads to your kid. There is no every other exception, you pussy ass bitch. And I can call you that because if you're not fighting for full custody of your kid and getting on the offensive and doing a deposition on the mother and doing interrogatories and discovery and calling her out for her narcissism and her child abuse and her toxic home, which is traumatic to the kids. I got off earlier off topic when I was first saying all the science and all the data says that kids suffer if they're not in an intact family home. So when the family's broken up, you mend the wound together and make it as almost as equal as it used to be, and you sew it up 50-50. If you got less than that, your kids are being traumatized. What are you doing to rescue them? Well, I'm going for 50-50. The mom is saying that you're a monster and you don't have any credibility and you're a liar and she's winning. And you're stupid mother effing retarded, low IQ, undeveloped, Neanderthal, brainless, zombie ass is sitting here saying, I'm going to be nice and go for 50-50. You just lost. When you go for 50-50, you're saying the mother is credible and she's wonderful and she's a good mom. And when the good mom, you just said she's a good mom, she turns around and says, you're a monster. They believe her because you just helped her testimony. You stupid, dumbass, freaking moron. You are your own worst enemy, you retarded piece of shit. And if you don't like the way that I'm talking, go Google, type in David Goggins on YouTube. Then come back and see and still call me an asshole. Because I'm mad that children are getting molested, and I don't like dads who let their kids get molested. And I don't like dads who chicken out and who are scared of fighting for their kids. I got dads who've taken their baby's mom all the way to trial and had a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 day trial, and they went through hell. And they came out on top, or they won something, or they even got significant visitation when they moved away, or they stopped the relocation. And then I got dads who, at the beginning, I'm coaching them or working with them, and they don't do the stuff I'm talking about, and then they realize in the end, yeah, I should have listened to you before. You don't say. You've never been through this before, and I've been through 25,000 cases, and you're sitting here saying, oh, maybe I should have listened to you. So if your kids are dealing with a toxic mother, they're being abused. Why are you letting them be abused? Why don't you want to rescue them from the abuse? Why don't you want to get on the offensive? You have no excuse. What's your excuse for not fighting for your kids? What's your excuse? There is no excuse. Oh, it's hard. It's tough. Okay. You know what's harder? Fixing your kids from the trauma and the toxicity of the mother abusing them. If you would have got on the offensive a long time ago, you might have 50-50 right now and you wouldn't be fighting. You would have went through hell for 5 or 6 or 7 months, but you'd have your kids. And now you're in a situation where it's 10 times harder than it would have been if you grew some balls and stopped being a pussy long ago. Damn, I mean, what I'm talking about is 3rd grade level math. Your strategy didn't work here. James won in court. Maybe you should listen to James, you effing retard. I don't know any other way to say it. I don't know any nice way to say you blew your chance to get on the offensive in the beginning, and now you're behind the 8 ball, and now you're getting screwed, and now you're on 2 hours of supervised visitation or every other weekend, and you never even attempted to go for more than 50-50. You never called the mother out, and you got trial coming up. You better get your ass in gear and get ready for trial to try and destroy the mother. And you better, I mean, I got free stuff on, I got free videos on my YouTube channel. If you don't like getting chewed out like I'm doing right now, go to the ones about the certain topics and grow some thick skin. If I'm not talking about you, you shouldn't get offended at the way I talk. The only reason you're going to be mad is that when I throw a rock into the crowd, the one who gets hurt is the one that barks or hit. I've had people get in the comments and say, you're chewing me out, blah, 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 because I did this and that. You're a jerk. Why are you jumping in the comments and tell me that I'm hurting you? Why don't you just stay anonymous? Or you just say that I'm an asshole or whatever. Do you want your kids or not? Like if we have a consultation, this isn't how the consultations go. Now, I talked about a consultation that escalated. That's because the guy's telling me to calm down and say I got an anger problem and later calling me a piece of shit. But he's the one who let his child get molested. I don't know how happy you guys are. That guy says I have anger management problems and he let his child get molested. That kind of pacifist, pussy, feminine, fruity, gay boy bitch mentality, that type of stuff is what gets kids hurt or, like in his case, literally molested. So why am I the bad guy for getting upset that you let a kid get molested and continue to get molested and you didn't at least attempt to go for custody? This is my gender. This is the state of affairs in America, Canada, Europe, and Australia. You know, people ask like, hey, I'm in Texas. Do you know Texas law? I don't need to know Texas law to know how to fight. Do you know Minnesota law? I don't need to know Minnesota law. That's the easy part. We can look it up. I have links to the law on my flow page. That just shows to me how people don't listen. They watch a whole video of mine, and right below the video it says, here's my flow page, law, my resources, a bunch of free resources, including a link to your state. And you ask me if I know the law in your state. But even if I didn't know the law, which I know in a lot of states, we can look it up. I don't have everything memorized. You should have the common sense God gave a monkey with 3 brain cells firing and know that since I won in court, and I've helped people all across the world win in court, that I probably know something about your case. Now, that's fine if you ask that, but if you want to debate and talk about it and talk to me for an hour, then F off and go talk to your attorney for an hour. You either know I know what I'm talking about or you're too stupid to figure out the obvious. It's right in front of your face. And and I do say you shouldn't believe me just because what I say might sound good or right. You should make me back it up. That's why I put some of my winning court orders in my flow page for you to look at. That's why I show you the law for you to go look it up yourself. I'm not going to sit here and say, this is what the law says, this is what you have to do, blah, blah. You read it yourself. Like when we do a consult, we can go through it and find it. And I've had guys where while we're on the phone, I search some case law while we're on the phone, and we find some case law that's totally on point. That's a winning point for them. Now, sometimes that's just a lucky hit or a lucky match. Because sometimes you're looking for case law for a week or 2 or 3. And I have guys that they've had attorneys for a couple years, and I look up some case law that is an argument to win their case, and after $50,000, the attorneys didn't even attempt to look that stuff up. I don't know about James. You're the part of the majority that's a bunch of dumbass sellout bitches who don't care about kids and you're a pussy ass coward of the mom. I've had guys 6'6", 240 pounds, 6'5", 300 pounds in my office are talking to me saying they're scared of their baby's mom. What's she going to do to you? I don't know. I'm just scared. Bitch ass cowards afraid of the boogeyman under their bed like a 5-year-old kid. I told my judge that him and the mother's attorney are tag teaming me and you're biased against me and you hate me because I date beautiful women and you have hideously ugly wives. Did I go to jail? No. Did the judge say anything about it? He made one comment and moved on. And you guys are afraid to aggressively go in there and talk about the law that the judge has to follow. So I've seen it all. So your bitch ass coward excuses don't mean anything. If you want to fight, let's go fight. And I'm your best advocate. I'm in your corner and I'm willing to help, but I'm not going to bullshit. I'm not going to sit around and waste time talking about stupid ass bullshit. I want to do stuff. D-O. I'm a doer. Let's go do some stuff to win. Let's not piss, whine. Think about this. If pissing and whining and crying like a sissy ass bitch would change the system, it would have changed 50 years ago, because guys have been pissing and crying and moaning like a bunch of sissy bitches for decades. That's not working. Let's do something different. And how about you come with an open mind and open ears to learn and take notes? Some guys don't even take notes. They're at work and you can hear forklifts in the background and they schedule a consult while they're working. And at the end of the call, they're like, hey, can you type up all the notes from what you told me? No, bitch, you should have been doing that anyway. You don't show up in a class in college and don't take notes. You got to want to fight for your kids. That's really it. That's really it. You got to want to fight for your kids. I wanted to fight for my kid. And because of my desire to fight for my kid, I won in 7 months. When she was 7 months old, I got full custody. Mostly because I had the balls to fight. If I didn't fight the way that I fought, she would be in California with her mom, and then Georgia, and then Hawaii for a little bit, and then Kansas. And I would have had to follow her all across the country. But because I got on the offensive and went to war, that's why I won. So anyway, grow some balls, get ready to fight. If you got an attorney and you want to stick to an attorney, then instead of doing the attorney's loser MO, then how about you learn from a winner and give something different a try?